I think when Super 8 came out, which was the movie that was the most like the movies that I used to make in the 80s, and it was a success, that was kind of encouraging, that you know, you can go home again, maybe. But as a staple of studio filmmaking, I don't think we're going to go back to the 80s. I think it's all superheroes, it's all big money, it's all explosions, and it's IMAX screens and bigness and spectacle and spaceships, and I think that's the future of the commercial film industry. I like to combine genres, particularly horror and comedy, because I think the two are very close to each other. Horror movies tend to be rather absurd. You have to have a lot of suspension of disbelief to believe in things that horror movies show you. And audiences sometimes are apt to laugh at the wrong thing. So if you give them something to laugh at, then they can have indulged that, and then they're relaxed and you can surprise them. The idea of fear and the idea of comedy they express feelings that are primal, and they work very well together, for me. Now, some people are put off by the combination. They want you to decide whether they're supposed to be happy and laughing, or they're supposed to be scared. And it's doing television episodes. Doing television itself is fine. If you do an anthology show like Masters of Horror, you do your own episode, and it's like a little movie. When you do episodes of a continuing series that you didn't originate, then you are at the service of other people's likes and what the style of the show is, and there's certain ways that shows are done, and you're expected to duplicate that because they want all their episodes to look alike. So it's still fun if the idea of just directing is fun, but it isn't very rewarding in terms of personality, because you're not really imposing your personality, you're illustrating somebody else's stuff. And you've seen high-class filmmakers migrating to television to be able to tell long-form stories that they couldn't tell as features because you have to truncate them to 90 minutes or 2 hours. The digital revolution has been great for speed. It's been less good for privacy, because anything you do can be seen by anybody. You make a movie for a studio and all the dailies go to everybody, and they can all look at the cuts and they can all make comments, and it's very simple. Well, budgets can be lower with digital today. B-movies in the old days were made as part of the studio system. You still had to have a lot of equipment and a lot of crew. I think you can do that with less now, although it still costs money to make a movie that looks decent. But the digital revolution has changed a lot of things. Everything is faster. You don't even have to turn off the camera now if you want. You can just leave it on all day. I know there's a big controversy about 35 millimeter versus DCP. I think that DCP is here to stay, and we might as well, say, okay, let's deal with it. If we want to make it look more like film, the tools exist to do that. But 35 millimeter films were deliberately killed by the studios to go to digital because it saved them a whole lot of money, and exhibitors were basically told, throw your projectors in the ocean because we're not going to give you any films, and if you have the capability of running 35 millimeter, we don't want to deal with you. And so that's a tragedy, I think, because the heritage of the world is on 35 millimeter film. And there is something about the act of going to a big room with a lot of people and experiencing the same emotions that is, I think, part of the film-going experience. And it would be very sad to lose that with everybody just sitting in their Fahrenheit 51 screening rooms with their, others and interacting with the people on screen. I mean, that to me is not storytelling.